All right, that's all recording.
I know you ate it. Just eat it. It was on the floor for 2 seconds.
All right. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. How are you today?
Great.
Thank you. At least one of those. Now, this is the last full day that I get to see you guys before spring break. On Friday, it is an asynchronous day for all of you. You're probably wondering what you're doing. Do you have to be there? Do you have to do anything? Yes, you have to be there. Yes, you have to do a thing. I cannot assign you an easier assignment than watching a video and then answering questions.
Is it a century video, Mr.
It is a
Miller?
century documentary
So
video.
you guys know how good they are.
Because you did see one about the 1920s. This one's just over the 30s and the 40s, the war. So that's what you'll be doing. How many questions? I'm not sure yet. Still in the process of making it. But I guarantee you it'll be very easy and you get to enjoy your spring break. But that being said, we do have to get through the home front today, and you guys do have a quiz today. 100% is happening. It is 27, 28 questions, but it's 30 points.
Is it multiple choice?
Multiple choice, true, false, short answer.
Oh my god. Oh shoot.
Makes it impossible. Sure. Hey, don't take a quiz. All right. Now we're gonna do a little review, so you don't do too badly on this quiz. I'm sure that my great teaching ability totally is gonna get you all passing 100%. 100%. I believe it. So let's start with a little bit of review. Judd, since you've been online, can you tell me which pact Hitler broke when he invaded the Soviet Union?
I want to say like Poland.
The Poland pact?
Yeah.
That's a good guess. Not so wrong.
It's not too far off. Yeah, yes.
The
Not a piece. Thank you, Shrugno. The non-aggression pact. I would remember that. Star it, underline it, whatever you have to do. It's the non-aggression pact. Actually, tell me what got America into World War II. A big thing happened. Pearl Harbor. And Abby, was Hawaii prepared for a Japanese attack? No. And Perry, what was one of the reasons why Hawaii wasn't prepared?
They didn't think their ships would. Something with the ships, right?
Yeah, you were right.
Hey, you're good. You're good. They're just what
They
about the
didn't
ships?
think they would make it.
They didn't. Yeah, they didn't think the Japanese could extend that far. Pacific's a big ocean. Japan and Hawaii kind of on opposite sides of that ocean. Anyone else want to give me a reason why the attack wasn't as successful as it could be? Joe, why wasn't the Japanese attack as successful as it could have been?
Joe. They didn't seem. All the aircraft carriers were out doing a training thing.
Bingo bongo, Joe, yes. 6 of our aircraft carriers were out in the Pacific Ocean and not in Pearl Harbor. We still had a huge portion of our fleet left to fight the Japanese. That's it. That's another good one. That's another good one. All right. Quentin, what was the British Prime Minister's policy when dealing with Hitler? His name was Chamberlain. What did he do? Hitler was taking over countries and everything, and what was Chamberlain trying? What was he doing?
He wanted to like have Hitler like. It's like he wanted to give him land, but they didn't let him take all of it.
So you didn't let him it was said earlier, you're on an idea with land. Remember when I talked about the baby, the cookie, the car ride, Iowa?
Oh wait.
Clay Camp said it, a good definition is to please.
Yeah.
If he doesn't get
The
it.
appeasement.
Yes, appeasement. Thank you. Good job. Clap for him. Clap for him. There you go. This guy's back. All right, let's see. When did the war officially start for Europe? Gianna, what was the battle? Hitler invaded a place, and then Britain and French were like, all right, no more. We got the war starting.
Is it Battle of the Bulge?
No, that's the last. That's the last big push. Yes,
Was it invading Poland?
it was invading Poland. Invading Poland is the start of World War II. France and Britain have been doing the appeasement policy for Hitler taking over Austria, Czechoslovakia, and a couple others. But once they do Poland, he's crossed the line. They officially declare war on Germany. I would know that, highlight it, star it, red pen, whatever you gotta do to remember that one. Maria, what was the turning point for the European theater? Stalingrad, correct. Good job. And Bridges, what was the turning point for the Pacific theater?
Midway.
Midway. Both of those will be on your quiz. Be a good thing to remember that one. And what was the thing, Tribunal, that ends the war with Japan? The atomic bombs. Would they have surrendered after one bomb? No, so we dropped the second one and then they surrendered. Alright. That was pretty good, guys. We ran a good gambit of questions there. So pull out your notes. Whatever you've been writing these bell ringers on, if it's been in Notability or on a separate piece of paper, this should be the last bell ringer that you have to do for me today. You'll be turning this in. I'll be collecting them. It'll be a good participation grade for you guys. There should be no text. No. Oh, is she coming?
That would be a Starbucks.
Here are your questions. Oh, right. Your hive mind one. Do you still have it?
Yes.
Oh, here it is.
Judd, have you been keeping up with these bell ringers? Have you been keeping up with these bell ringers that we have to do? No? I would definitely start now so you can at least get some partial credit on those. Well, I'm making it a total of like 30 points. Like, if you did it, good. Like, that's, like, it's all, there's like been 3 to 4. I think we officially started at 3 when I told you guys about it. So, 10 points for like each day.
I looked at my pencil.
Oops. This is all of them, yes. If you can't see it, I will tell you what they are. Online kids, you can see it and everything? Yes, thank you, Brevin. Make sure you add this to your bell ringer document that you've been keeping going on the separate sheet of paper. You will be emailing this to me at the end of the class period with all the other ones that you've done. Does everyone understand that? Thank you, Lou.
Yes.
Thank you, Eddie, for speaking for the outline.
Oh, no, it's.
Oh, you were answering that one? It was just very well done. Good time.
What's up?
Did you guys also do hive mind on yours?
Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, those are the papers you could correctly. Okay.
Make this happen.
No.
Yes, sir.
Oh, Truman.
Or was it
You don't like
Truman was the one that dropped bomb. Remember, FDR dies, and then this big decision.
He was the vice president.
He was vice. So FDR dies. Truman, he becomes president, and it just gets dropped on his lap. Like, what do we do about this? And he's just like, well, I guess we'll drop it.
He is not
Like, he's.
Big boy.
Yeah.
My dad bought a Jeep. I mean, similar story about cars. My dad bought a Jeep yesterday,
He has a girlfriend.
and
I know.
things are insane. Doing it midlife crisis
He had a
wasn't.
girlfriend.
Yes.
No, they were not. He literally posted.
Oh, great. Those are big ones. I'll make sure to review those. Remember, we were neutral at the time, so what did we do? Yeah, and what act was that under?
Yeah.
Well, that's one of them, cash. Cash and carry is one, that's what we gave them food and clothing and they paid and picked it up.
What are you talking
The other
about?
one is.
What are you talking about? Things like that?
Blake, is he not the
You're,
Suez?
some, hey, I need your
It's too
my
far.
blend.
Blake and Abby are dating.
I don't know who Blake
We're
is.
gonna talk.
You're so close, you're so
We're
close.
talking into existence.
No, way to go.
Not talking.
Anyways, the blend. Yes! Lend-Lease, yes. And then I got these. I'm not officially one of you guys, by the way. I got these. I'm officially one of you guys. It was my birthday yesterday. My dad.
And I see him like
Yeah, thank
leaning up
you.
against his truck.
And dad said to be like, here you go, son. I was like, thank you. I appreciate it.
Like, right
How you
next
going,
to
man?
his
Good.
I was absent on Monday, so I don't know what to do.
Those red abs.
Okay, yeah, that's it.
I was gonna say, smart
Wait,
man.
I'm just right absent.
You were here though, Joe. I know you were here. I have records.
You could have lied, maybe like.
I could have. Why? Why would I lie that you were here? Not yes.
Oh yeah, I see him.
3.
Didn't they like work in, federal?
So, while we were usual, what was one of the 2 acts we talked about? It's slowly.
Theory and.
FDR has a Manhattan plan.
You got it. You got it. You're almost there.
Truman?
Yeah, you need one. Let's go.
That project.
Lend-Lease Act, yes. I would definitely put those in number 3 and go into a little bit more detail about what those acts were.
I wasn't here for those, so.
Okay, so
I don't
the
even know if he knew about it.
cash carries is we were neutral. We couldn't trade it with anybody. But Britain and France were like, yo, we need stuff. So we're like, alright, so as long as you pay us for these things, and we were sending them only food and clothing at that point. As long as you pay us for those things and come and pick it up, you can have it. And then when France gets taken over, Britain's the last man standing. Winston Churchill tells FDR, like, bro, I need a loan. Then FDR goes down to Congress, they get the Lend-Lease Act passed, and it basically gives FDR full power to direct materials to other countries. Full power. So he sends them all, everything, military stuff, clothing stuff, food stuff. And it's no longer of just like, come pick it up and buy it from us, it's we're lending it to you. And that's what it was.
They didn't make him pay for it?
No, it was like well, you can pay for it later. You can, it's just like you owe me a solid type of thing. Yeah, because that's what lend. We're lending all of our stuff to them. Quinn, are you doing this bike? You finished? Can I see it? Sweet.
Before you can say yes or no.
It says give an example, so.
But before you.
But-
I don't think I know.
Definitely say yes.
Yes.
Say,
That's because of World War
Guys,
One.
World War One, you could talk about it.
Did you talk about it?
That's good.
like a good time.
Like, I don't get scared, I just get angry.
Well, I guess you're gonna put anger on it,
I get angry really easily, it's pretty bad.
Yes, you did.
3 more minutes, guys. 3 more minutes. Top of the hour. We'll keep on going.
You said what?
Yes.
I'd say no. But
It's on
again,
one.
like, the Patriot Act.
How you guys doing over here?
What's on your phone?
What's
Like in the idea.
Can people support the opinions that affect
Trying
the
to get
offense?
terrorists, like, they can go into your safe
Well,
pictures. and
So
look.
these questions are redocumented on things we talked about. So these questions we didn't
Like that guy I just know.
Do you think people support opinions
No,
of the
this guy
offense?
who exposed all this, and
You
then he
think
went
that?
off to Russia or something.
It's just a simple yes or no
Because
answer.
he was gonna,
And then we'll talk about
like,
it.
get arrested.
Yes, but I don't have an
I'm
explanation.
gonna do a few Yeah, I mean, there's a huge reason why propaganda is being why moral, like,
I know, I don't
keeping the
like
morality of the nation, that was a huge thing. I mean, you wanna know how many wars we've gotten into because the people were bad?
People got arrested for speaking out against the war.
They peer pressure a lot.
Yeah, I mean,
Does it really say
Spanish,
anything about-
not the Spanish American War,
American
us fighting
flag?
Cuba, no, it is Spanish
Yeah.
American War, we're going to fight with Cuba, the freedom from Spain, it's because we literally bullied McKinley into doing it. But also McKinley was a huge spine president, so.
Do we have to know what the 3 things that were embargoed for?
I would definitely know the 2 big ones. Which are like the first 2?
Oil and steel.
Oh, wow, yeah, I know that one. 1 more minute!
Young Princeton. You like it? You like Princeton? Right. No, that's the girl that does.
She's also back here. What?
We just think about
No, I mean, right.
Oh, I was like, why?
But also write down your answer, name, collector. Right.
But this can happen before Kristen.
there's new ones.
Oh, wait, those are new ones. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry. That's why I was so confused. Like, what do you mean? It's still the bell ringer. There we go. You're good. Alright. That should be plenty of enough time. Gibbs, turn around. Everyone get your eyes up here. Thank you.
But like, you're.
Let's answer these. So, Trump, what president decided to drop the atomic bomb? Truman. And was he elected president?
No.
When he decided to? So what was he before
He
that?
was vice president, but then Roosevelt died.
And who was he the VP on? Who was he the VP to? FDR. Thank you. Yes. Truman, very important person in American history, has to make one of the biggest decisions by having decided he's going to nuke the Japanese or not. We talked about it last time, that huge debate on morality, if the invasion would have been a better decision, if we should have nuked them twice. He had all that going through his head as he has this dropped into his lap. Mr. President, we have a bomb that no one has seen before in mankind. Should we drop it? 2, Abby, can people support and opinions affect the outcome of a war?
Yeah.
What?
I think so.
Why do you think so?
Because it can help like motivate like the soldiers in the war.
Right. It can help motivate the soldiers in war. It can help our government of what policies get passed during war. Heck, even a bunch of wars start from people's support and opinions and yellow journalism and propaganda. We get into the Spanish-American War because of the USS Maine explodes, if you guys remember that. But people get so riled up about it with the yellow journalism in the papers. They were hounding the government and McKinley. War. Remember the Maine War on Spain, and eventually McKinley folds and they declare war on Spain. We'll talk about this a few more. There's a few more things where people affect wars, like the Vietnam War, the war on terrorism. Now, name one thing the American people did during the First World War to show their support for it. Gibbs.
Rational.
Rationing, yes. Wasn't mandated in the First World War, but it was highly convincing. Like, this is what you should be doing if you were an American. Meatless Mondays, sugarless Sundays, no cake on Saturdays, pineapple-free pizza Thursdays, why not? Yes, and this happens in World War II as well, but to a greater extent, which we'll talk about. Now, Randolph, for number 4, do freedoms and liberties go down during wartime? And give me an example of a war where that might have happened.
Oh, I didn't really get that one.
So, okay, let's talk about it then. It's no problem. So, we have rights that are protected for us, right? We have the freedom of speech. We have things that we are allowed to do that are protected by the Constitution. Correct? When we go into war, do some of those things get taken away to protect us?
Yes.
In World War I, were you allowed to speak poorly about the war effort?
No.
What would happen if you did?
Get arrested?
You get arrested. But isn't that our First Amendment right?
Yeah.
So, in wartime, some of our rights go by the wayside. That's what liberties, yes, Bridges?
Oh, I was gonna argue the other side. I said no.
Oh, go ahead, please.
Cause like, if you use that example, like, then if you go to like the Vietnam War, people spoke highly against it and they did not get thrown in jail. But it was their First Amendment, right?
Correct. Let's do a counterexample to that, though. War on terrorism,
Yeah.
the government can now look through your phones.
Yeah.
That was not something they had the ability to do beforehand, and that was to protect our national security to figure out if any one of you hooligans were terrorists or homegrown terrorists.
Yeah, so I said yes and no, because I said it depends on the time and the country that you're in, and what war it is, I guess.
Yeah, definitely a yes or no answer there. Just wanted to tell you that wartime can affect how much liberties or freedoms we tend to have as a nation. There's a saying of just like, when you need more security, your liberties go down, and when security goes down, your liberties go up. It's like a tug of war between the two. You can't have both of them at a very equal amount. Alright, and 5, let's see. Gianna, do you make irrational decisions when you're scared or angry?
Yeah.
Give me an example.
Um,
If the one that you feel like sharing, if you don't have one,
no, I don't have one.
you don't have one?
I cut off my brother's finger. So he
Alright.
hit me with a hockey stick.
Why? Why'd you do that?
It was accident.
Are you sure? Yeah.
He hit me with a hockey stick. We were playing hockey. I'm like 9. He's like 8. We had this like little window seat that made a like perfect hockey goal, and we played in our front yard, our front room. And we were just playing, and I was playing goalie, and I went for the little ball, and he then slashed me with the stick. Well, he knew he was gonna get his butt beat real good, so he starts running away, and he goes to go run upstairs, but he got there and he like cut the corner, and so what he did, like he made a hard left, but he put his hand on like the door frame, and well, I got there and I went like this, and as violently as I possibly could.
You're a maniac.
I slammed the door, and his little middle finger just went plop.
Yeah.
And fell right off.
That's embarrassing.
I called 911 because I just chopped my brother's finger off. But I'm from such a small town that, like, my grandma and my aunt, my aunt lives 2 houses down, my grandma lives on the other block over here. They got there before the ambulance got there. And then the ambulance got there, and then my brother, like, we couldn't cuss in my house. We couldn't, like, fart was a naughty word, butt was a naughty word, pee was a naughty word. But there's my brother with 3/4 of a middle finger, flipping me off saying, F you, Raya, F you. And ironically, he got in trouble for swearing instead of me chopping off his finger. But I made a rash decision, an irrational decision out of anger, and chose to, not I didn't choose to, but
You made a choice.
I did endanger my brother by slamming that door because he hit me with a stick.
My story is, me and my girlfriend had a very stupid fight, you know, one of those fights that you have happen. And I was mad, like I was at home, I was pacing. You ever get when you're mad, you just start pacing around, you're just like,
No.
some of you are shaking, you know, just like, yeah, you're just kind of, when you do that, you work yourself up. And I was mad, and my brother was like, hey, what's up? I'm like, I decked him right in the face, I'm not gonna lie.
What is
That is unprompted.
that is so unprompted.
I was so.
What?
Why do you guys hate
Yeah,
one another?
We actually have a
It
very.
was worse than mine. I didn't think.
We have a very.
Cut your finger off.
Well, I was gonna.
Yes, are both.
Yes, it was unprompted. It was a very rash decision. He didn't fall. He didn't get knocked unconscious. I didn't punch. I punched him hard. Not that hard. He just had a little bit of a bruise for like a bit there. But I was just like, I am so sorry. And then he slapped me across the face. Fair, which is fair. But that's a very rational decision over something I made for really something that turned out to be not that big of an issue, teenager emotions. I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about. Not that you've stacked anybody in the face over something like that. No. No one wants to support me on that? Okay.
You should have cut his finger off.
I should just bust out my pocket knife? Yeah. But yeah, there's a lot of irrational decisions that can be made when you're experiencing the fight or flight response, or you're scared. Or you could make irrational purchases when you're angry. That's my girlfriend's coping mechanism. When she gets angry and she comes back, she's like, I might have bought too much stuff today. I'm like, what did you buy?
Cut her finger off.
Necessities.
I think that's the way to go, Mr. Gross.
Next thing you know, we have 2 new video games and a new mouse. I'm just like, why? But can this be brought more on like a nationwide level? Can you fear an entire people? Can you get scared of an entire people and make irrational decisions on that? Or wow, we're gonna talk about that. Actually, wow, what a great transition for later on. So, now going back to that second, going back to that second question. Questions to think about. I'm gonna ask you these questions one by one, and I'll give you a minute to think about it, to process it, and then I'm gonna give you a minute or two to talk about it with your shoulder partner to answer this question and what you guys both think upon it. Then, we're gonna have a class discussion about this, and we're gonna go through these questions one by one. I'll call on you, I'll ask you supporting questions or secondary questions to go with your lines of thinking. And we're gonna hopefully arrive at a certain conclusion. Most of you will, hopefully. That relates to that second question of can a home front or can people affect a war? And the question hopefully we're gonna arrive to is lastly, can the home front affect the outcome of a war? So let's just start with, I'll give you guys a minute to think about this. Can morals of a nation change the outcome of a war or the progress of a war? So take a minute to think about that. Can morals change the outcome of a war or how a war goes or turns out? That's about like 30 to 40 seconds.
Oh my
Think about certain examples. Time to think about it.
I don't know how to explain
Like what you think.
Morals are hard to explain, but hopefully, just a broad idea, and then hopefully we can get more and more to the point. No.
Morals is like people's like.
As like.
Right or wrong?
Able to be, yeah.
All right. I mean, I know that wasn't a full minute, but now take the time to look at your shoulder partner and discuss what they think about it. Take a quick 30, 40 seconds on this, talk about it, and maybe you can find some examples. I mean, World War II has a huge moral part of this war, right? Blaming the Jews for the outcome of Germany in World War I. Think about that. Talk about that a little bit. Does that change how the war goes? Maddie, you don't know what I'm talking about? Yeah, that works. Make a trifecta. I can't call it the other word. Exactly. I made that mistake. Yeah. Think about these questions too online, kids. I'm going to call on at least one of you to try answering this. There's not really any right or wrong answer. I'm just trying to get your opinion. This is guiding you down a road that I want you to follow. Yes. This is the first question. We're taking this bit by bit. Yeah, no problem. Trust me, if I gave you 1 minute to just think about all 5 questions, there's no way you guys are going to be like, yes, no, I guess. Okay, Pasto? John, who are you talking to? Or are you just on your phone?
Huh? Oh.
Why don't you think about question 1, talk about it with Perry or Maria? It's a heavy question, and not something we're going to figure out the answer to in just 2 minutes, but at least want to get your opinion on it and get a starting point for the road we're going to follow. Can we give you guys 15 more seconds on this one?
Me and my friend, Biz. Huh?
Well, you just put an apple person in the
What do you mean we're trying to do that?
I wake up at like 5:40.
And I barely get out the house.
Well, because all I do is like, I barely do anything to get ready. I don't have to do that much.
I didn't even brush my teeth, brush my hair.
All right. Eyes up here. You're finished talking about your morning routine later. So, Treadmill, can the morality of a nation change the outcome of a war or the progress of a war?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, why? What?
Because if you have like, let's say, somebody who's in charge of a military platoon, right?
Okay,
And they're like, oh, I'm gonna follow what the what they tell me that the higher command tells me to do, or whatever. But then they're like, oh my gosh, it's just taking too long. I'm done with it. And then they decide to do what they believe is right.
Mhm.
then they can endanger the lives of those soldiers and then so many more people because they did something that they're not supposed to do.
Just like Aaron Rommel, remember that German general that we talked about for Africa and a little bit of Italy, where he had learned about the death camps, found that he didn't like that, and then the consequences was that he had to kill himself by command of Hitler. Judd, do you have anything more to add to that?
No, she said it just perfectly.
Just perfectly. Good job, Colonel. You said it just perfectly.
Right.
Now, just a quick question. What was the main reason America joined World War II? You're probably thinking, why am I asking that? Yes, Gage?
Pearl Harbor.
Pearl Harbor. Okay. So, Japan attacked Pearl Harbor, correct? And when you attack somebody's territory, do you usually get angry at that person or at that nation?
Yeah.
All right. Now, do people connect when they have a common enemy? Well, you discuss that. Think about it. Discuss that for a second.
Something called like,
The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Is that what you're thinking about?
Keep Prince.
Please discuss this. Because some of you are shaking your heads no at me, like, no, I don't think so. So please, take 30 seconds to discuss. Do people connect when they have a common enemy?
Potentially that is.
Yeah, but also
Okay, I was looking at that same thing, but I feel like it's also.
Well, do you want to figure out an enemy? And then.
And then it was
Or if you.
Go ahead. It's fine.
I do. I just want to go practice.
Oh, I guess I don't. Yeah, just do it.
Yeah.
That's so
What? Well, no, like, we do that.
You can still see what's going That's a little far.
Yeah, I know, like, I can't see why.
All right. All right, that should be enough time. I'll start with an online kid, get them a little riled up. Luke! Ladies and gentlemen, I'm back up here. Luke, can you hear me?
He's still a kid.
Can you answer the question? Do people connect when they have a common enemy?
Yes.
Shoot.
It depends on like what they're trying to do in retaliation to them.
Yeah.
Like if they're trying to like get them back or something, sometimes they'll come together, but if not, okay.
So let me relate this more on a personal level. If one of your homeboys gets beaten up by somebody, are you gonna come together with your friends to get retaliation? You now have a common enemy. Your friend just got beat up for no reason. Are you and your buddies gonna come together and maybe retaliate? Probably. So does that mean you guys are connecting over a common enemy? Or maybe some other kids are getting bullied, you're getting bullied, and you guys come together over this common enemy that you have?
The enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Luke. Joe, do you have anything to add to that? Do you think people can connect when they have a common enemy?
Yeah.
Yeah, alright, why?
Well, say like, well, your main goal is the same as their main goal, so you can help each other get to their main goal.
I have an example.
Wait.
We can hear both examples. We have
I
plenty
have
of
a
time.
really example.
So you know how
No.
he's my enemy and then he's her enemy. We're friends because he's our enemy.
So the saying, the enemy of my
My
enemy
enemy is my friend. That is correct.
I told her what that
No,
means.
that's what I was trying to say.
I'm very proud of you. So, Japan attacked Pearl Harbor, correct? We know that as fact. Does that mean America has a common enemy right now?
Yes.
Well, besides the Japanese Americans that probably were. Do we have a common enemy? Let's get a consensus on this.
Yes.
Everyone. Yes, we have a common enemy. All right.
Sure.
So, what other common enemies has America people had in recent history?
Germany.
Well, think recent history, like 2000s.
Alright.
There was a huge. Let me give you a hint. There's a, what?
Kitty boy in North Korea.
Taliban.
The Taliban, yes. 2001, 9/11, the war on terrorism.
ISIS.
Yes.
Good.
Good job, Chanel. Good job. Yes, in more recent history, in 2001, when America gets attacked again in the homeland with the Twin Towers, we come together to fight a war on terrorism on the Middle East, the Taliban, ISIS, all those guys. So similarities there. Well, not being Hawaii, one being Hawaii and one being New York. We were attacked. The American people got riled up. We came together and we supported a war. Now, can you think of a war that wasn't popular at all in the late 1900s? Vietnam, correct. And what was the result of that war?
We lost.
Failure, we lost. Some people will say it was never a war in the first place, so we can't technically lose. But yes, we more or less lost that war. We signed a peace treaty between South Vietnam and North Vietnam. We got our troops out of there, and literally a month later, the North invades the South and makes the whole country communist. So, that war was unpopular. There were people rioting in the streets, telling people to stop sending troops over there. This is a pointless war for us to fight. We have no business being there. The public wasn't backing us on that. The hippies were like, make love, not war, man, and everything like that. No one wanted this war. Peace, love, harmony. So, that's going to bring me to this last question. We didn't have a common enemy. We weren't attacked. The people weren't supporting this war. We lost Vietnam. I mean, even think about going back to the war on terrorism. Like, we've been fighting the Middle East and the Afghani wars for what? 20 years now. And people now are starting to question, like, why are we over there? Why are we going back over there? Why aren't our troops home yet? Is it really necessary for us to keep them there? All these questions are being asked. Some of you guys are asking those questions. Some of you who are involved in politics, or maybe have a brother or sister or older sibling or father or anybody who is in the military. They're just like, why aren't they home yet? So, that brings us to the last question that I want to discuss, that you guys will think about and then discuss your shoulder partners. Can the home front affect the outcome of a war? Or how a war is going? Think about it. 10 more seconds to think about it. Guided you down this path, hopefully. It's still your opinion, but there is a more right answer depending on how well you can explain it. So please, turn to your shoulder partners, discuss this final question for me, and we'll talk about it. You two online kids, I'm going to make sure to call on one of you. So, Revan, Reagan, these guys. So while the soldiers are fighting in Afghanistan, America is we are doing what we can to support that. So, home front is your home country trying to support you. So, the soldiers in Afghanistan, we're the home. We're supporting. We don't want to do more than present right now because they want to be progressive on further. And it's not like a full scale war. But if there was ever one, we'd have to ration.
I mean,
What do you guys think about it? That issue we're gonna have homework? I'm not too worried about it. You're gonna be fine. Not even that. You guys do all
Are we
right.
turning this in today?
Yes, we will be turning this in every day.
And everything was like.
Wait, did you actually get the exit ticket?
I literally just got from literally,
Oh, yeah, I see it.
but Megan, because I don't have any friends.
Oh my God.
This is a spooky time right now. Phones are back. I was literally looking for it. Just go. Gonna give you guys like 30 more seconds.
Like you could have like made it like.
I don't think you can see it.
You should make it better.
The green is like inside, so it should look like matcha.
There's some on this side too, but they're not as bad.
That doesn't sound too appetizing, but I'm sure someone will go for it.
How do I kill a Megan?
Yeah.
Elite
Or
bar?
the pink could be like pink lemonade.
Alright, come back to me, ladies and gentlemen. Turn around, get off your phones, literally everybody in that corner. Thank you. So, let's start with an online kid. Brevin, can you hear me? Can you please answer the question, can the home front affect the outcome of the war? Is your mic okay there?
I think he's in, front line.
Alright, that's right. We can call somebody else.
You should ask
Very
Joe.
not Mike.
I think Joe.
Paul, can you hear me? Yeah, he might.
He was definitely just called.
Can you answer the question that I just asked, please? Thank you. Please share the class. Everyone.
I know that.
Okay, why? Home front would be the soldiers in Afghanistan are fighting. America is the home front. We're doing what we can do to support that war, or even protest against it.
Well, yeah, because one side is all about war and the other side is against war, like peace treaty. Yeah, I think it affected because it really.
Thank you, Cole. Thank you. Right, he's right. A home front can be quite polarizing because we're listening to the sides of the people. Like the government might have separate interests in a war, but ultimately they have to listen to the people. Remember, we're the guys that elect them into office. So, let's go with Perry. Can you answer the question?
I pretty much said the same thing, like it can affect the outcome of the war because like of the people. Like
Mhm.
if you have support from the people, like it'll, rather than not having support from the people, it could change it.
Right. Is it? Oh, you have something to add?
Mhm.
Donald?
So we know that people on the home front are, especially women, are going into factories and like making products for the front lines. If we didn't have that and we ran out of production on the front lines, and how are we gonna, what are we gonna use to fight the war? So we need people on the home front to do that for us every day.
Right, home front, especially in World War II, affects a lot of people's lives and bringing us up into bringing minorities up, women up. Definitely, if one of those moving cogs wasn't going to be working, there would have been a less factor for production, which could have lost to a loss in a battle and then a butterfly effect. Who knows what could have happened there? But could have had huge consequences. So, we've more or less come to a consensus that a home front and the people in it can affect the outcome of a war or the progress of a war. So now, let's talk about the World War II home front. So rationing, I take out your notes now, this is note-taking time. We'll wait for a couple seconds for people who don't have it out yet, or people who would need to take out their iPads and notability to write stuff down. Rationing. The public sacrifice. This happens in World War I. It does. To a lesser degree, like I talked about. It was more of just something that was encouraged, not mandated. You were encouraged to not use sugar, to not get meat on Mondays, to not have cake on Thursdays for some reason. Stuff like that was encouraged for you to do. In World War II, it's mandated. Everyone must ration. The government found it necessary to ration everyday supplies, and more than just food now. It's gas and rubber, clothes. This meant a sacrifice for all. Rationing of goods was voluntary and government supervised. You had coupon books, literally of just like saving up coupons to buy stuff. To be like, here's my meat coupon for the month. I get to buy 1 5-pound chuck roast, and that's all I get for the month. Or here are my 3 sugar coupons. This is how I get my pound of sugar to make cake on Thursdays. Because god dang it, you have cake on Thursdays. Gas cards. Only being able to buy a limited number of gas. We have trucks, tanks, airplanes, Navy ships. Doesn't that all require gas and oil to keep on going? Yeah. Do the American people now have cars now because the Ford and the Model T and that's slowly gotten better? Right. So that's people's main transportation now. But we also have war machines that we're trying to keep on going. So people can only have a limited number of gas. A black market starts for meat and cake and carrots and stuff like that because now you can't buy them readily available. And when you can't buy something readily available, there will be a black market for it. You'll be going to a back alley and be like, do you have that pound of sugar for my cake on Thursday? He's going to be like, yeah, do you have $3 American still backed by the gold standard? And you'd be like, yes, I do. I do sell $3 American backed by the gold standard. And then you get your pound of sugar to make that cake on Thursday. Increases wage lead to a higher percentage of savings. People are now making more money, so they're able to save more. And FDR's Revenue Act raises taxes for most Americans. Need that money to rake in so he can give it to military projects to start funding war machines and paying the soldiers and getting more food for the soldiers. This is a good propaganda. Of course I can. I'm patriotic can be, and rationing points won't worry me. She's canning everything that she can. Canning was a huge thing that happened both in World War I and World War II to preserve food for longer. About 10 more seconds. It's good enough time, I think. Yes, Quentin? Go ahead. All right. Changing roles of women. As Treadmill hit on already, women had a bigger role in society because all the men went off to war. All the men are off to war, fighting it. So working women were a social stigma during the Depression. It took jobs away from men. So women weren't really working too much during the 1930s because men were the ones trying to find those jobs. And there aren't too many jobs to go around. So they were staying home, cooking, watching the kids, trying to sew clothes together for the upteenth time, which is ratty and trying to fall apart because they can't afford new ones. But during World War II, the federal government urged women into war productive jobs, which allowed men to serve in the military. And more than 1/3 of our labor force was women at this time. And they weren't just taking like secretary jobs or courtesy clerk jobs. These women have been in far better positions than they ever were. Scientists, mathematicians, riveters, doing actual work on planes. Some even make it into the war industry. This is a huge glow up for women at this time. Before in World War I, yes, they worked. They worked ammunition jobs and stuff like that. But not stuff that we said that they couldn't, that we as men had said for a long time that they couldn't do. They're now scientists, mathematicians, working on airplanes, really helping out the war effort. And this is something that we can never go back on. We can never tell them, well, this is what your place is, woman. Because it's just like, well, no, I did the same job you did literally 5 years ago and probably did it better than you. So non-traditional jobs, breaking general stereotypes, allowed gender discrimination in many industries, and women made 65% of a man's salary. So they're still making less, but hey, really have jobs they thought that they would never be able to achieve before. Women filled a number of non-combatant roles, over 300,000 enlisted, And war had a lasting impact on the impression of women in society. Like I said, we can never go back. In the 50s, we try to do a return to normalcy. There's a reason why a lot of women do cocaine in the 50s. They are extremely bored and depressed being housewives and need that high. That's true, 100% is. So, propaganda, the famous Rosie the Riveter, we can do it. Propaganda is a huge part in any war. Don't get me wrong, we've had it for a long time. Yellow journalism back in the 1800s convinced us to go to war with Spain. You have advertising today, which can almost be considered propaganda of how they try to target us. Propaganda being when people see the red hat of a Trump hat and get so angry, or people get so supportive, or the Joe Biden hat. That's still propaganda. The propaganda videos we get every 2 to 4 years to support that candidate or that candidate. Happens a lot in World War II. This is saying that women can do it, encouraging them to join the workforce, because we need it. We need them to produce those things. All of our men are fighting the war. If we fall behind in production, who knows what could happen. Speaking of propaganda. Propaganda. Yes? Or are you just stretching?
That was just
Okay. So propaganda is the inspiration that is spread for the purpose of promoting some cause. Promoting some cause. So new technology innovations, the photography, radio, film, manipulating messages everywhere. And then FDR creates the Office of War Information, aka this is what creates American propaganda. So we're using war films. We have war films, but now they're super, just imagine Captain America being I can beat the heck out of those Nazis. And for some reason he turned Canadian. But we have staged films of us winning battles, of American troops beating up Nazis and everything like that to get support for the war. You have images like this. It's incredibly racist depiction. But we have this common enemy, and we try to portray them with animal-like characteristics to show them as animals, not human, to desensitize us. I mean, this one literally says, much wasted materials make me so happy. Which means saying you guys, if you're not eating all your food, or you're throwing away stuff, or you buy a second bag of flour for your cake and then don't eat that cake, that you're wasting stuff that could be used on the war front. And this is huge. It really unites the American public together to work as hard as we can on the home front to support our boys in the Pacific and in Europe. Propaganda is huge in changing public depictions of nations. It's like mind control for a sense of being able to brainwash you into thinking this is what we need to do. It's a great way to unify the nation over not very kosher pictures of other people. So this promotes the total destruction of the enemy. And it villainizes the enemy, particularly the Japanese, because we got attacked by the Japanese. We hate them a lot more than we do Germany and Italy. Japan attacked us head on, so most of our propaganda is targeted against the Japanese. Usually these try to tell a good versus evil story. You're being great for donating $2 in Liberty bonds to fight against the Japanese. You're a hero. Good job. Now, I have a propaganda activity that we're going to do. There's a lot of propaganda. So I want you to go onto Canvas. It should be the very last thing in the World War II module, and it's called Propaganda Breakdown. So I'm going to show you sets of images. And you and your shoulder partner or your pod, I'm going to go with your pod. Your pod is better. You and your pod are going to discuss them and and answer the questions. So there should be a link. Is there a link on there, Ethan?
Yeah.
Thank you. So make a copy of that, because not all of you need to edit the actual document. So make a copy of it for your Google Docs, and then tell me when they'll give you 2 minutes to do this so that we can start this image set. No, it's in the module. So it should be the very last thing.
It's not.
Where's the very first thing? No. Has everyone else found it?
What's it called?
It's called.
It's the very last thing in the World War II.
It's the very last thing. Yeah.
Jesus, I thought that was Friday.
Propaganda breakdown. Try refreshing.
Either
this. I
way.
don't. If other people are finding it, I'm not sure.
Refresh.
Refresh. Go on to Safari. Online kids, you do this as well.
You know what you need to do.
It's a little table, right?
Yeah, it's a little chart, right? It's got set A, B, C, D, E, or set 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and it's got 3 questions.
Any of us can do it. It's all the same.
Ooh, nice. Okay, you will be emailing this to me after this is all done. I will grade it. If you want to work it together as a group and just put everyone's name on it, you can. I just need you guys to discuss it. So are we all ready? Thank you. So, this is your first image set. I want you to look at them, study these images. There is a common theme to them here. Well, yeah. Yeah, remember we were talking about animalizing them, desensitizing. Yes. So think about all that. Please discuss them with your pod. I'm gonna go around, check on you guys, talk about this. That's a very good thing.
Ask the owner to change the share. Yeah,
Just one of you guys do it and type on it and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, then yeah, put all your names.
Oh, right, so
Just do that.
what is the
However,
name?
however we get this to work.
Do you have that?
And then you three, the trifecta here, can all work together on this. World War II module, Judd. It's called Propaganda Breakdown. Look at these images. Look at these 3 images. Tell me what the common theme is. There's a few questions you have to answer, and we'll be discussing.
Try to get them again.
Conservation.
That's another good one.
Oh, that one's not too bad.
They all look like sexy.
Yeah, because we're portraying them as animals. Because we literally portray them as a rat, as a monkey.
And what's the first one like?
Monkey. Yeah, but these are fishes.
And what's the last one? Vampire?
That's the one that's two.
Well, I need at least an hour and a half to do that.
It's a quiz, Joe. You'll have plenty of
Not
time.
a written response, just multiple choice.
Oh, we got some plenty of
Alright, so are we all doing this together?
Yeah.
So then we can write it down on it.
Wait, does everybody have to write it down? Or-
No, just one person write it down and put your
No,
names
no,
on it.
is this one?
Okay.
Put, you know, right? Oh.
Is this set one?
What?
Is this set one?
Yes, set 1.
The other one is like.
And then is the last question like what stand out most?
Yeah, what do these images forget to do and why are they, and how are they used?
You
Well,
can see that they're the enemy.
Yeah, you can see
Demonized and stuff.
How to make it so you can type that.
Huh.
Hey, can I go get water?
Oh, is that not the copy?
No, you're the one writing. We have a lot more. Okay.
I'll be back.
Alright. How's it going? Are you guys getting there? Got the set done? We might not do all 6 because I keep on looking at the clock now and realize you guys still have a quiz you gotta take and I want to give you as much time as possible. So we'll only do 3. We'll only do 3. So the second set, there you go. This one is one of my favorite. This one, the middle one is one of my favorites. It's just a really funny drawing. This one is telling you the middle one is telling you the carpool because if you're driving alone, that wastes gas and rubber on your tires. You're driving with Hitler then, and Hitler's in your passenger seat instead of a friend. I just really like that one. Got good case of propaganda.
Okay, and then
Are we doing what you said? Because all these
they were on.
Yeah.
But they are the enemy.
Ish.
And we should get them. Alright,
I don't know if I'm prepared for this, guys.
Ready.
Oh, yeah. Come here.
Prosperity.
Yeah, plenty of time. Aren't you the one who's writing this down? So, are you working with them or are you doing
What's the punishment if I miss it?
I think they know.
Oh, yeah.
Things that are empty.
Quiz is worth double points.
Double or nothing.
It could be voted, but try to focus on one.
Cars and videos.
Someone that's in it.
It's supposed to
Here. What do you think the main thing is? Rashing so easy. I still like the middle one. It's just so it's so good at just being like, hey, if you don't carpool, you're driving with him. I could just see like kids making fun of people who are driving by themselves.
Not what you want.
That's so good. What is it even?
He's making teens use a word.
Is there stuff on there too?
Oh, she's not pregnant. She got Why? Just to dominate it.
Why is he ready to come?
Is that his name? You do realize that taking it isn't gonna.
You guys think you need one more minute?
Do any.
One more minute, everybody? No, you need more than that?
No.
Let's go.
Oh, okay,
I'm
ready
really
to go now?
doubting that. I will literally.
Is everybody ready to go now?
No.
One more minute then.
Like,
I know.
What time would
It's actually
you?
at AK.
Oh.
And then all of us.
M-A-K-I.
Yeah,
And then my last name's spelled wrong, so.
Wait, and.
Playoffs?
AK.
Border, on the border.
And then.
They all
drive all the way down.
Oh, LT.
Is it open like that?
Yeah.
30 more seconds?
yeah.
Yeah.
About the point.
We need.
You know how many goals I put?
Goal. Last year?
Your ball.
I don't even have.
10 more seconds?
I would never do that.
I almost won that. 1-0.
All right. Your third and final image set, because time is cutting short, and this should just be a whole lesson in self-covering American propaganda.
I remember it.
I was screaming it.
I don't like this one. I don't like this one. I don't like this one either. This one. I want to do this one because
What's that? Who is that moose?
it's just a moose.
Moose will never help me.
There's a reason why I chose these ones. Your favorite American author who has just been canceled recently also did American propaganda back in the
They
40s.
called them by.
What does that say? Boss?
Oh, sorry. Boss, maybe you better hunt me and buy more U.S. defense bonds and stamps.
You should what?
Huck me, H-O-C-K. Huck?
Oh, cool.
I'll throw it out, but I mean, I thought it was spelled with a U, but don't ask me about spelling.
So, get rid of things and buy
Hawk
bonds
means
and
like
and
selling.
stamps.
Oh, is it?
Hawk.
Oh, all right.
Like
So
I'm
spend
gonna
all
go
your money
hawk
on
a
bonds and
couple
stamps.
fake Rolexes, you know?
Don't forget, Liberty bonds were also a thing in World War I. But another common theme here is that even authors like the famous Dr. Seuss was getting in on this propaganda action.
The ops.
Which thing's that too much?
Yeah, what about the
But it's not just the ops, it's not just the cops, right? The ops is like the
I think all
opposition.
three of them are.
Oh, no, I didn't.
Yeah,
How you guys doing on this?
no, you have to do it.
We're done.
Like,
It's all
Done,
like,
Judge,
you
are you
have
on
to do
it?
it now, like, there's no other option.
Right on when you.
Joe, get off your phone, stuff like that.
How do you help?
Gave my thoughts. They're not listening to my thoughts. but-
We are writing it down.
Is that a question?
You made it.
I did make it. It is multiple choice, true, false, two short answer. One of them is basically just an opinion question.
Maybe write complex thesis.
Ooh, complex thesis.
No.
Bro, we don't have time for that.
You got time for that.
We literally have like an hour, less than an hour left.
What's your email?
Oh yes, my email. I'll just write it down.
Are we gonna share it with you?
No, just send it to the copy to me.
Okay.
C.
Just
I'll write it
down.
down. Yeah, I'll just write it down.
And one,
I need the green marker. It's a really easy name.
Right there. C.
I'm all about it.
So we're only doing 3.
Yeah.
Wait, so are we?
Your email?
CMO532@AOL.com.
AOL.
I know, right, guys?
No.
What
AOL
other-
is where it's at.
What?
AOL is where it's at.
Hey, hello, where it's at? Quinn knows what he's talking about.
Mr. Cross?
Yeah, but
Maybe the
Maybe
restroom?
next year, I'm gonna do.
You go.
Literally,
Alright, you can go, Rand, I'm just curious. We got more notes we gotta do.
I wish I could meal prep and
Oh, sorry.
Alright.
The disrespect.
Oh, sorry. C M O.
How did you do that?
How to do what?
Yeah, how do you send that to me?
I don't know.
You send it to me.
That's my learner. Yeah. Okay.
Did you
C.
send it to me?
M.
Took so long.
5.
Cross.
Wait. I can't read it.
C M O 5 3 2 at AOL.com.
Hey, Mr. Cross, I had to drive my dad's truck today to school, and it's like a big F-250. I've been trying to get it into the spot was so
Alright.
difficult, but I
Off your phones, eyes up here,
Lucky
continuing the
enough, nobody
notes,
parks in
finishing
front
up
of me,
so
so I
that you
just
guys
pulled
did quiz.
Why did you put Joe Mom?
I don't know.
So, like I said earlier, minority groups during the war also get globes as well. Not just women. You have African Americans who served with distinction during World War II. They're honored for what they did. You have the major push to fight discrimination. A. Philip Randolph is going to be a very important figure. Was a Marine who, he wasn't a Marine, he was a man who served in World War II, comes over, fight for the civil rights movement. The NAACP membership grows during this time period. More people flock to the civil rights cause for African Americans because of what they did in World War II, fighting with honor. People are also starting to realize they need to grow up. Campaigning for anti-lynching laws and against the poll tax. That's right, that's still going on in some areas in America during the 40s and even the 50s. Gets a pushback in the 60s, thank God. They still did serve in segregated military units though. We were slowly becoming less and less racist, but not that less racist. But we'll get there. Trust me, 60s, 70s, they'll get there after a couple hundred years.
I'll go do some.
Then you have the Tuskegee Airmen,
Yeah, that's what you.
which were the first black military aviators, aka pilots, if you don't understand what the word aviators mean, and the U.S. Army Air Corps. So this was named after the Tuskegee Institution, founded by Booker T. Washington, who was a...
Keep going on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who was founded by Booker T. Washington, who was a huge for African American rights. He was all about teaching the African Americans a skill, a job. They didn't need absolute rights yet, but they needed the ability to earn $1. That's what he was all about. So then the airfield and the training facility for the airmen gets made there, gets the same name. So they are great pilots. The Tuskegee Airmen. Guys need a couple more seconds to write this down. Good to move on. Okay. So more minority groups. You have the Native Americans, another group that's been treated harshly, pushed back and back into smaller and smaller and smaller portions of land. But during World War II, many Native Americans attempted to leave the reservations, and they were found with discrimination. They were trying to do the thing that we told them to do years ago, to assimilate into society. Come on, you can do it. And when they tried, we were, believe it or not, racist towards them. Can you believe it?
Yes.
Oh.
Not in America.
Not in America. What do you mean? The land of the free, home of the brave?
What are you talking about?
This led to the formation of the National Congress of American Indians, and a few would even join the military. And what they did is phenomenal. They were the Navajo code talkers. These guys spoke in their native language, and we would send a bunch of Native Americans out to these war battles, and they would be on communications and send relay message back and forth to each other, speaking in their native language. And since those languages were only native to America, they couldn't be broken. No one, not Japanese or the Germans or Italians, could understand how to break these codes because they've never heard this language before. And it's not like a bunch of dashes and lines or random numbers that they're having to figure out what one mean. What does one mean C or does two mean E? No, they're literally having to try to learn a new language they've never heard of before, making our code gosh darn unbreakable when sending secret transmissions. Huge in the war effort. Absolutely huge to keep our plans secret. Okay, who dabbles in a little bit of Spanish here?
Who dabbles in what?
Spanish.
Depends
Get
on
it?
the Spanish.
Maria, I do.
Go ahead, Cross. Why don't you say what it is?
Bracero.
Bracero program. Thank you. I did not want to botch it and like have one kid be like, "That's offensive to me," and you're like, "Well, shoot."
You're canceled.
Again, no, I didn't cancel. So this was recruiting foreign laborers into the U.S. We made a deal with Mexico. We're like, hey, send some of your people over here. We will pay them, we'll feed them, they can have a home here for a little bit. We need them to work some of the fields, to do some manual labor jobs, so to keep the production up in the United States, to keep on sending things to the war front. And Mexico and these people are like, yeah, that's a pretty good idea. Sure, why not? It's not that far of a trek up to California and Arizona and New Mexico from Mexico. But many of them stayed behind rather than returned. I mean, you got a free passage into America while it's still racist at the time. Kind of better than many other places that you can go. So they decided to stay. But this would lead, believe it or not, to some racial tensions. Wow, believe it or not. So, you have what's called the Zoot Suit Riots. This is what a zoot suit is, by the way. That's a man decked out in a zoot suit.
Do you guys know that song? Zoot Suit Riot. Riot. Throw back a bottle of beer. Bet
So-
you guys know.
So a series of riots which broke out after the U.S. naval personnel and Latinos brawled. So you had the U.S. Navy personnel and some Latinos are brawling, and this leads to a huge amount of racial tensions. The Latinos could be recognized by their zoot suits, and all minority groups volunteered for military services in numbers greater to their percentage of the population. Meaning a lot of minority groups would join the war, and that the zoot suit riots started off as a brawl between some American troops and the Latinos, led to huge race riots. A lot of cops got called, a lot of fighting all across like LA and Arizona and New Mexico. But it's, I mean, we should bring the style back. What do you think, girls? Think we should bring You like the fit? We're doing tier lists in 6th period, and I can't wait to see where they put this guy. Where would you put this man in a tier list?
Oh, I gotta see the other option.
Well, I mean, the other ones would be Hitler, Mussolini, and,
Oh, he'd be
Oh,
pretty
well,
upset.
yeah.
Oh, he's iconic.
Oh, well, he's iconic.
He's iconic, alright.
Look at that, come on.
Now, we're not gonna watch this because we don't have enough time for you guys to have a quiz, but we will probably will watch it when you come back. So you can actually remember what we talked about. But you have the Japanese internment camps. You know, like concentration camps, but a lot less unintentional death. So, just imagine you guys got home after a long day of work, except you don't have a home anymore. You have see a notice on your door saying, pack your stuff and get out of here. You're going to these coordinates. Meet up at this army base and we're transporting you to someplace new. So after the attack on Pearl Harbor, the American people are terrified and angry with the Japanese. And by extension, Japanese Americans. Just the same reason with Germans and German Americans. Except those guys are white, those guys are a different color. So, racism.
Not step back.
So, it was the second greatest abridgment of civil rights in American history. 100,000 first and second generation Japanese Americans placed in internment camps with Executive Order 9066. I would write that down. That might be on your quiz.
Okay, I like.
Specifically that number. I would probably write that down.
What'd you say?
I said you should probably write down Executive Order 9066 and say that it put first and second Japanese Americans in internment camps. The number is specifically important. You should remember that.
So if there was like a grandma who was Japanese and then they had a kid, and that's gonna be the second generation of Japanese American, but then
That'll
they have
be a different
kids, then what happened to those kids?
Whole family. If you had Japanese descent, you were put in these internment camps.
The nicer. It's like when we went from kids in cages to soft side pens.
It's a minimum security prison.
So, this is what I was talking about of fear being able to control a nation and make them do heinous things. Because of our fear for the Japanese attacking us, we saw any Japanese American as purely just Japanese, even if they haven't been on Japan for their entire lives. And they were pure American citizens, but we saw them like, well, you're Japanese, the Japanese attacked us, 1 + 1 = fish, get inside the camp.
Great,
I don't get it.
They were forced to sell their property. They were held for the duration of the entire war and freed after pledging loyalty to the United States. And once they were free, what did we decide to do with them? We gave them $10 and kicked them out and said good luck. We didn't give them any compensation for their time. They had to literally restart their entire lives with nothing. It's like if life sent you all the way back to zero in the board game, which would be a terrible problem. So this was rooted in anti-Japanese propaganda. They were labeled as a security risk on the West Coast, which is where most of them were. We were afraid that they were gonna be terrorists, they were gonna blow some stuff up, mess with our military bases and our naval bases. Now, of course, as any right person knowing the Constitution, be like, this is a huge violation of my rights. I'm gonna take this to the Supreme Court. But the Supreme Court rules that FDR's authority is absolute. This was the correct decision to make. Again, in wartime, securities go up, liberties go down. The basic rights that these people would have had, that they should have had, did not matter because we're in war and we need to keep the American people safe. This limited the number served in the military in the 442nd Battalion, which were Japanese Americans. Some did serve, some got out of this by serving in the war before we literally kicked everybody into these camps. Weren't meant to kill people, but at the same time, when you build metal shelters in the middle of the desert with not a lot of water and food, what do you think is going to happen?
Starvation.
But they have basketball.
I mean.
Does that make anything better?
Yeah.
And baseball, they had cards. And I'm pretty sure the couple of the military guys watching them were friendly. Maybe had a cool first name.
Okay.
Did you guys know why baseball is so popular in Asia? Because post-World War II, America, we stayed in Japan, and what we did is we gave them part of our culture, which was at the time, baseball was the national pastime, and they took it and ran with it.
All right. We have an exit ticket for later, but right now, iPads, quiz time. Let's go. Quiz time. You'll be fine. You'll know all the answers 100%.
Didn't you put the lockdown browser on there?
No, I didn't.
Damn it.
I know.
They don't know anything. You say yes, they do.
Yes, they do, yes. Don't cheat. I will literally I'll be patrolling the room like 24/7.
I don't feel ready for this test.
360.
Well, maybe Mr. Owens can toss out
I missed
Okay.
I missed a day.
Where is it?
It is called the World War II 2021. World War II 2021. The access code is spring. Like the season and literally the spring.
Where is it? Quiz it?
It said it was incorrect. Is it a capital S?
Yeah, probably.
Can we use our notes?
No, man.
It's not.
That's spring. I don't. SPRA.
It's not fair.
Why? It's spring.
Working like.
It's.
It's not working.
But it's spring. I don't. It should be spring.
It's not.
It's not working.
It's not capital, spring, or lowercase.
It's not any spring.
Yeah.
Is it all capital?
It should not be all capital. No.
Just try all the seasons.
It worked. What did you do? All capital?
No, I'm just joking.
Oh. You really.
I'm so funny.
We're
We're not gonna, why is this
Yeah, go ahead. Can't minimize the Zoom meeting.
Push this on button.
Just go into test details and I'll show you.
Yeah, I know. That's where I'm going right now.
Really? Wouldn't that be funny?
SPRING.
If you know how it works.
Okay, is it all capital?
No, it's not. It's lowercase.
All lowercase?
You can literally see all lowercase.
R-I-N-G.
5 minutes for finding fucking
Yeah, it's not
page.
working.
Are you in the World War II 2021?
Yes.
Literally so.
It's not working.
S?
I don't know what to tell you. It's right here.
Can you
Right
change
here.
that?
I don't think I said it. You know, we don't have to take a quiz today.
I'm fixing guys.
I mean, are we just gonna take a quiz?
It's like, what is that?
Alright, refresh. There should be no access code. Cross looked at it. It was spring.
So no quiz basically?
No.
It lets us write in. We're good.
Alright.
Yeah.
Don't cheat. I will be walking around, patrolling the room.
Wait, what's the code?
There's no code now. Online kids, no code. Refresh your canvas. Should let you right in if you click once you click on it.
Oh, I put spring and it worked again.
Yeah, same.
Like it didn't work the first time and then I put it
Look
in
at
again
this.
and it worked.
Cut off somebody's finger.
I
Yes.
don't need my finger, it's fine.
Wait, what's it called?
Or as you call them.
What's it called?
Yeah.
2021. It's
Okay.
included.
Okay.
Okay, let's go on. We'll stop. What? The Russian guy. Okay, so, and what is happening? What is there?
That was right.
Yes.
I don't know.
Okay, what is Stalin? He's Russian.
Russian, yeah.
So Russian of what?
I don't want to be.
Okay. That's not, okay, I'll choose that.
Wait, what?
You're on camera cheating.
Yeah, there are cameras going, guys.
Look at me like that shit. Pick you
That's what I was thinking, when you said.
You think I'm gonna dress code you for that shirt?
For the bombs.
Yeah.
You wanna chop my finger off for him? I'll chop yours off first.
Yes.
They're just like photo casualties also.
That's what I was gonna ask. So, I should have asked you.
Oh, like in.
They're already all the way down. So again, if you didn't hear me, come up here after you're done with the quiz, like Olivia's doing right now. Grab the graphic organizer. World War I home front goes in one big bubble. World War II home front goes in the other. 3 similarities, 6 differences. The example for a similarity can be rationing, and you can remember from our PowerPoint when we talked about the difference between World War I rationing and World War II rationing. There is a slight difference in there that tweaks up the whole, how it all works. Yes, thank you for your double bubble graphic organizer.
I couldn't even say it.
Double bubble organizer.
Double bubble, 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 bubble.
Thank you guys. I will try to get those questions up for Canvas on Thursday night, so for the some of you that are traveling on Friday, you can do them.
I'm traveling tomorrow, so. Have a great week. Ashley, have a great week. Thank you.
You just title it as Bell Ringer, Bell, whatever you want to title it.
Say your names.
Bell Ringer, Bell Ringer, Bell Ringer. Who got me this?
I didn't read.
I said Bell Ringer, some said Bell Ringer, I was like, Bell Ringer. I was like, who got me to do that?
I was thinking, yeah.
I thought it'd be like more difficult.
One whole water bottle down, and then one to go.
I missed the one where I was like. Oh yeah.
Do you remember that picture with him and his wife hanging upside down or whatever?
Yeah. That was him. I think he was
Here's your iPad.
Maybe screenshots and not sending it to PDF. I it's not working, so try screenshot. I got the time. I appreciate you all. Don't forget about your grade too much. Remember, I still gotta grade the short answers. You still have this that's going in and this that's going in. This is worth 30 points. This is worth 10 points.
Potato, potato.
Potato, tomato. It's gonna equal out there a little bit.
How long do you record this for?
All right, Trevor, I can send us on the camera.
Bye. Have a great week.
Bye, everybody. Have a good one. Say goodbye. Have a good weekend. Oh, God.
Bye, y'all.
$1 for Pop-Tarts.